The war boss is here, and he's looking angry.
1 Ghazghkull Thrakka, 12 hours to paint him. Challenge starts now. So we're going to start with the base of Ghazghkull, and the reason for that is that we're using Armageddon Dust. Now, this is a texture paint, and it can take a little while to dry. Although, I will say, in the heat wave that we've got at the minute, again, I don't think that's going to take horrendously long. But, yeah, if you appreciate me putting out this content in about 30 degrees Celsius in this room right now, yeah, I'd appreciate a like and subscribe. So in terms of Ghazghkull, if you've watched our build video here, we've actually built him in sub-assembly. So both of his arms are detachable, as are the armour plates on top of those arms. So that's going to give us really good access, and it does help with basing, where I can get my texture tool into all of these little crevices without basically having anything in the way, which is great. We're also going to be using the Gamer's Grass Dry Step Set. So this is 4 different varieties of dried out grass, burnt grass. It's really useful, but I'm tempted to apply some of our grass directly onto the texture. This is essentially paint, glue and textured sands all in one pot. So it's a really useful tool to have. Right, let's get going. So whilst we're painting up Ghazghkull's base, I have a few questions which, you know, I'm relatively new to Orks. So when you look at, you know, a leader like Ghazghkull, are we looking at him as like a Primarch level threat? Are we looking at him as like, you know, a chapter master of great renown like Dante to be able to take him on? But I presume the Lion and Gilliman would be able to beat, you know, Ghazghkull in one-on-one combat. Not that anything is ever that equal or fair. So one of the things that I do like to do with the bases is anything that is on the plastic end of the diorama base, I like to paint that up with Steel Legion Drab. By the time that your Armageddon Dust dries, it's not a perfectly similar colour, but when you dry brush over it all with Carrick Stone, you'll be surprised how well it blends in. I think it's a pretty darn close match, as is things like Baylor Brown. So I can't lie, it is absolutely melting in here. I've got a little personal fan just down here on charge. Every time that the camera goes off, that goes on full whack. So far with his base, I do really like the amount of detail they put into it. They do have a Space Marine helmet in there, so he is fighting Space Marines in this diorama, which makes sense, because I think they're his #1 enemy. I'm certainly going to be playing around with the idea of adding more. I do like that he's had at least 1 replacement body, which I never knew that Orks could have the heads popped off and then just have a new body popped in place. Just a little bit crazy, but then this is, you know, the writers at GW and they like to have a bit of fun. In terms of time, we have lots of it. With the heat, I will be taking regular breaks because it is so hot. But certainly, in terms of getting his miniature finished, most of the colours that they're dealing with are blacks. Again, we have things like our Big Mech Dakka rig. Big Mech Dakka rig. That name is so flowing off the tongue. So we have a rough idea. I'm not going to do it to that standard because that was rushed in like no time whatsoever at the very end of the challenge for the 48-hour challenge of painting Orks from the Armageddon box, which is, yeah. So I almost forgot as well about Makari. Now, Makari is his little bannerman, and Makari is just any grot. He always gets called Makari regardless of who it is. So we have a little bit of freedom of how we paint him, although most of his miniature is skin and banner. But yeah, I almost forgot about him. So I'm going to go do his base now as well. Okay, so we have our first major update on Gaz. As you can see here, we now have his base done. It's quite a major milestone. We are currently just over 3 hours in, which we've had some breaks because the heat is quite intense. But you can see from there, his base is looking fantastic. We did have to wait for the textured paint to dry out properly, otherwise when you start to dry brush it, it falls apart and then you end up with a bit of a nightmare. So this is all locked in now. It just needs matte varnishing and protecting so that we can move on to the next step, which is going to be Ghazghkull. So early forecast, looking at 9 hours time, do I reckon I can get this done? And I think the answer is yes. I'm quite confident at this point. His base took longer than maybe it should do, but again, with the heat and the drying process and kind of wanting to make it look a bit special, and I've done some extra highlights in like specific places, certain rocks, certain like high points of the base, with a mixture of Wraithbone and Karak stone. That's given us quite a lot of depth to his base now. It looks quite cool, and we've also got a red helmet in there. Now, depending on who you are, you might decide that that is an Ultramarine Sergeant, or you might decide it's a Blood Angel. I'll leave that entirely up to you. I'm not going to spoil anything, but certainly plot armor isn't for everyone. So yeah, I'll let you guys decide in the comments actually. Do you think that's an Ultramarine Sergeant or a Blood Angels? You decide. Now this miniature is courtesy of War Office, based in Rochdale. They're a small-ish independent store, and yeah, I couldn't thank them enough for how supportive they've been during this whole YouTube journey. So give them some love. Website's down below, and if you can, pop in store. They're awesome. Alright, back to the video. Okay, so we're getting on with Gaz's skin now. I was originally going to paint it Death Guard green, followed by washing over with Colia green skin. This time we're going to do something special, because I think with these challenges, it's not just a time challenge, it's also like a technical challenge for me as well. So, we're starting with purple. Now, some people may know this scheme, some people may not, but the idea is if you go from like a shade of purple into green, it gives you lots of depth to the green. So basically the undersides of parts like, little ligaments, whatever, are going to be purple. We're going to build up Death Guard green on top of that, because it is the main colour. And then we're going to build it like to a brighter, more naturally skin-toned green, to sort of like our Iron Rack, our Iron Rack skin. That's kind of where we're aiming at for our high points. So that's going to get blended together on the wet palette. Now, this is an interesting scheme, and it does work in two ways as well. With his face, for instance, his gums are going to be naturally sort of like a pinky purple. So I'm going to be working up to that regardless. So that being done already makes life a lot easier, and I'm going to try going to sort of like really like pinkish flesh tones for extremities like his ear, his nose, maybe even like his lips. We're going to see how that works. Now, it could be a complete failure. It's fine. We still have quite a lot of time to be able to really experiment and play around with. We've got 8.5 hours. I think that's plenty of time. Yeah, I kind of want him to just look special. Ghazghkull Thrakka needs to be more. Ghazghkull Thrakka needs to like stand out in a sea of greenskins. And not just because he's got the biggest armour that any of the boys could ever ask for. His armour is so big that even Ghulk and Mork are jealous. That's big armour, that. Yeah, I'm going to get cracking with the skin now. Let's get cracking. So we're nearly done with the skin now, and honestly this technique has worked a charm. So just thinning down Death Guard green and going over it is Nagaroth Night, that nice deep rich purple, and just leaving layer after layer after layer and just building up those layers. It's created a beautiful green skin tone. I've then gone over his face, and when we're doing highlighting as well, we're highlighting with Iron Rack skin. And again, thinned down, so it's like you can apply more and more and more, and you can build up that gradient. It's worked so well. Hopefully you're enjoying the footage of it right now. This is like, I'm so glad that I tried this technique, because to be honest, the rest of this miniature could look like an absolute bag of arse. I don't care, because the skin on him looks that good. So we're not far off done with the face. I'm going to get the metal components done on him, and once we're done with that, Karak stone or Steel Legion Dragon Karak stone for the rest of the fabric, straight onto armour, and that's going to be probably quite a quick session. On to the next steps. Next update, you'll see the face in full, and then we'll get on with everything else. Alright, so welcome back for another update, and Let me just update you with the temperature. It is 29.9 degrees Celsius. That in Fahrenheit is relatively high. And it's humid and the air is not moving in here. It's warm. So yeah, please like and subscribe for more amazing content like this, regardless of weather conditions. So update on Gaz. He now has his fabric painted. I found a little bit more of his skin on his back. So that's been painted up now. This is where stuff gets really fun. I think we can be quite quick with these stages. Most of his armour is black. It's going to be highlighted with, relatively dark greys, but we're going to do some chipping details as well with silver. So I'm really happy with the progress so far. His face looks amazing. I'm like over the moon with how that's come out. And yeah, I can't wait to get the rest of this miniature painted up. Okay, so you joined me back after having evening meal, and he's looking in a very good way. I'm going to have to do a little bit of dry brushing just to cheat for time. However, his metallic parts are all painted silver, then followed by the contrast with Ghazghkull. That is going to give us the perfect base to dry brush on top of to give us a very oily metallic surface. So that's what we're doing next. Well, they might add some heat effects into certain elements, like his quad shooter, that thing, whatever that's called, Mork's Revenge, I don't know, insert name here. The power claw is looking absolutely mahoosive. I have to do the bone side of those claws, and I have to do the horns on his armour, which will do all of that after we dry brush the living daylights out of it. So let's dry brush the lead belcher on first. Then we'll go over all of the black armour with, it'll be Minotaurium standard grey. But yeah, super happy so far. He is looking mean. Okay, so we have less than an hour left. Ghazghkull is looking very close to being done, actually. I know his arms aren't attached. They're right here. So now we're kind of going into all of the finer details. We're adding in colours like reds. We're doing some of the little elements that he has on his leg armour, for instance. So we're going over and we're making sure that he looks really fantastic now. So about 53 minutes left. I'm going to get cracking, see if we can get him done in time. It's going to be tight, but at the same time, I think he's going to look good regardless. So let's get to it. All right, so here we are on to the last 30 seconds. I have like 3 skulls to paint, which is not a great deal of time. Let's try and not make these the messiest skulls in the world, but let's try and make them at least the right colour. Alright, so we're literally just Karak stone. It's like the ultimate go anywhere, do anything colour. There's one more in our time. Time is up. So, 12 hours, 1 Ghazghkull Thrakka. I didn't forget Makari. Thing is though, much like the real life Makari, he's a bit expendable, and in this challenge, the Warbush found the use of his favourite buddy Makari, and it was to enrich himself. So he spent more time doing good old Mr. Ghazghkull, and less time doing little tiny Makari. But I know what you're all here for, and that is the results. So prepare yourself for the big reveal! Ah! So I think this has actually been my favourite challenge so far. Ghazghkull is always one of the most maniacal, crazy, insane-looking models, and painting him has genuinely been like a bit of a dream come true, actually. I've enjoyed painting him more than I've enjoyed painting either of the Primarchs. Although Guilliman was a lovely thing to paint. That trim makes me envious of Chaos Space Marines. Whereas the Lion was actually surprisingly easy to paint, even with the scheme that I gave him. Speaking of which, if you want to see the Lion painted in 12 hours, the video is just up here. But yeah, Ghazghkull was incredible. He's so full of character. I love doing the different technique to paint his skin. That took about 3 hours of my day. But it was well worth it. I mean, with breaks, the heat was insane. We are currently looking at 30.1. 30.1. So I think that's around somewhere between 90 and 95 degrees Fahrenheit or so. Correct me if I'm wrong, Americans. There's about 25% of you in my audience, so I look forward to hearing the correction. Yeah, it was incredibly hot. I had to take breaks. So I spent at least 10.5 hours in here, and it has been sweltering. I've had a tiny little fan, that thing, just to keep me cool, because my two other fans are outside this room and downstairs cooling the house for the cats. So put them first before me. Yeah, if you have enjoyed this video, and it has been a pleasure to produce this, please give a like, subscribe to the channel. It makes the world of difference to this channel's growth. Leave a comment down below. Have you enjoyed it? Have you seen better? Do you want me to do other things in the future? Let me know down below. Thank you to my Patreons. Patreon is the only way to get onto our Discord. So if you want to join the conversation there and be part of the live chats whilst I was painting Ghazghkull, then please head over to our Patreon, sign up there for a paid profile, and then congratulations, you also get a free entry into the monthly giveaways as well. So that is all good and well. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in a hopefully cooler next video. Goodbye for now.